Thank you, Doug. I'm sure it's like a super sprint to the end here, trying to see all the activity happening at the same time. So I was just looking back through my emails. Is there a agenda or bill list or anything that we're looking at here, or we're just going to kind of compare notes and go through this process? Jen, do we have anything published?
I sent out the bill report. Oh, shoot, I did forget to BCC the board. I'm sorry about that. My bad.
No,
There's
not a
nothing
problem.
new on the bill report
I
though, but
figured,
I will
yeah.
send it BCC to you guys right now.
That's fine. And yeah, as I say, I don't know that we're going to be able to influence too much at this point in time, but yeah, we've definitely thought about the different positions and what was going on. So who else is available, or are you kind of running the meeting with me, Jen, or is Whitney here?
I could fill in for Whitney.
Yeah, okay.
Let's start. I think we start with Doug on updates, although it looks like he might be driving.
Yeah. So if you're available, Doug, please share.
Yeah, happy to provide an update. Heading down to Salem right now. They overnight scheduled House rules, the Senate rules, and Senate revenue for this morning. So I'm on the way down there. We are probably 48 hours away, maybe 36 hours away from being completed. They have been rushing through bills in the House and Senate. The Senate went through, I think, 75 yesterday and 95 the day before. That leaves about 60 plus bills that they still have to complete, including most of the budget bills. They're holding most of the budget bills until the end of the session. I think the big news this week, and I sent an email earlier, is that we received a $15 million general fund allocation for the courthouse. That was in one of the end of session bills. It's very good news. We should be particularly appreciative of that because a lot of public projects for cities and counties around the state were not funded at all. So very happy about that allocation. Most allocation requests were cut by 50%. Ours was cut by less than 50%, 25 down to $15 million. But based on our conversations with all of you, I think that will still make a huge difference. So that's a huge victory for us to celebrate. Many thanks to Tim Knope and Jason Krupp and Emerson Levy and Vicki Breeze-Iverson and Werner Retschke. They all banded together and worked to support that request. So that's good news. I did send a summary of some of the other budget items. I'd say that in the Christmas tree bill, there were some changes made. They have a $50 million behavioral health package that is partly for infrastructure, partly for workforce, a variety of other elements. It's not everything that we hoped for. They did not restore public health funding to the level that we hoped for. And a lot of the behavioral health workforce bills that went down to Ways and Means are not advancing. So that's a little bit concerning. The Ways and Means Committee did hold back some money. They held back close to $100 million in bonding authority that they could allocate at a later point in time, either during the e-board in the fall or in the session next year. And they also held back, several $100 million that they could tap into if particular issues come up. I mean, there were things like the child abuse intervention centers that were not funded, psychiatric residential care, hospital transition, and House Bill 3126 was not funded. So special education programs were not funded, and a lot of housing infrastructure that was requested around the state went unfunded. So it's kind of a mixed bag from a Ways and Means perspective. And I will say that there hasn't been much transparency in the Ways and Means process compared to previous years. There's very little justification given for the decisions that were made. So I think those are the highlights. Like I said, they're trying to adjourn by hopefully tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. I think that's possible. There are still bills that need to go through the Rules Committee or the Revenue Finance Committees. So we'll see about that in the next 24, 48 hours. But I think they'll definitely be out by Sunday at the latest.
One question, what's the mood, as in are people happy to be working together now that we've got over a couple of big speed bumps, or not?
Commissioner, great question. I think part of it depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
If you talk to a representative or a senator who got a lot of the funding that they asked for, Greg Smith from just east of us up to Hefner and Morrow County, got a lot of projects in his district. I think he's very happy. If you talk to Representative Breeze Iverson, who, got some things for Jefferson County and Deschutes County, but got nothing for Kirk County, she's less happy. So it depends on who you talk to. 5 or 6 of the Republican senators are back in the building, giving them the quorum to move ahead. Another 5 have not come back. So they'd probably be very unhappy. And the folks who come back it's kind of a mixed bag. But, I think most people are going to be happy if we get through the session and we don't have to go into a special session in July. So that, people are tired right now. It's been a long session.
Great, thank you so much. Any other questions from anyone? And then, any other updates, Eric?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there's the bill report, but at this point, it's probably not worth going through.
Yeah, so as I say, I mean, I'm not opposed to just, taking this as an update right now, and moving on for today. And we'll schedule a follow-up in the next couple weeks whenever it's appropriate. Doug, thank you so much for representing us in the Capitol from Deschutes County, and also just kind of the big Central Oregon vision you have. It's really been a pleasure stepping into the Capitol, knowing you're there and having you connect us up pretty quick. Commissioner Dare was celebrating her little trip down there just the other day, talking to Ways and Means, and advocating for the courthouse dollars. So we want to thank her for her efforts, but you getting her there also.
Yeah, I think I would echo your sentiments, Commissioner. I think that we've really enjoyed working with you and the other commissioners and the staff, the department heads. Learned a lot, and I think this really gives us a good foundation going into the interim, going into the e-board meetings, and going into the next session. And I'd echo what you said, that the delegation and the region, I think, has worked together really well. I've seen participation this session in Salem from, Deschutes County's always been involved, and some of the cities have been involved, but, Kirk County folks have come over, even the Jefferson County commissioners have gotten active on a few of the things. So I see a lot more kind of regional participation, and that's paid off. I will mention that the drought package contains quite a bit of funding for projects in Central Oregon. The DRC got funded out of the drought package. They got 2 separate allocations, so that's good news for the DRC's efforts. The juniper management efforts in the region are funded, not at the level requested, but at a level to get them off the ground. COIC got a little money in that package. So overall, I think there's a lot of good things that have been happening, and we're looking forward to implementing them in the next couple of years.
Great. But I was just thinking through, remember we have a governor stepping in from the House, Speaker of the House to the governorship, and then a new Speaker of the House and a new Senate President. So we got to remember that, a lot of different agendas, dynamics, maybe egos, everything we're dealing with right now with all the leadership changes in the state of Oregon. So it's good that they were able to get through this process. This is politics. So, okay, anybody else, anything?
I was just going to ask, any policy surprises or anything that you might see in the Christmas tree bill that has been on our radar that may come through at the end? Just curious.
Well, it's a super long bill, and there's a lot of elements. And one of the things that I'd point out is that, they did recognize the need to provide some stability to the homelessness efforts that they funded in the last year or two. So you'll see some additional fundings for stability of those efforts, the stabilization centers, et cetera. Housing, I think, will continue to be a huge priority for them. There's quite a bit of money in the Oregon Housing and Community Services Department's budget in these big chunks. There's $600 million in a chunk for housing. There's more money in there for lift. So I think there's an opportunity for cities and counties and partners in the region to look at those larger agency budgets like DHS, OHA, and OHCS and tap into some opportunities once RFPs are put out. So, I think those are valuable things for us to look into as we go forward. They're long, detailed bills, lots of sections. But, just Nick, from an overall standpoint, to me, the Ways and Means decision-making seemed scattershot. There didn't seem to be any central theme. I kind of mentioned in the beginning that housing infrastructure was something that a lot of cities and some counties had asked for help with infrastructure for those things. Redmond got money for North Point. That was very good. But a lot of cities got nothing. I mean, there were probably 24 or more cities that asked for some housing infrastructure funding, many of them small cities that don't have the opportunity to charge enough for SDCs to pay for infrastructure to build housing. And I would have thought that housing infrastructure money would have been a priority for Ways and Means, and it wasn't. City after city after city, and even some counties asked for some money like that and were denied. So I think that was kind of one of the big surprises, and has a lot of people scratching their heads in the Capitol.
And sorry, just one last question. So just those of us that are probably going to want to find out what is in that Christmas tree bill at some point over the weekend, what is that bill number? I should know, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I can send you the links. It was in an email update we sent on Monday morning. The main Christmas tree bill, Senate bill or House Bill 5029. There's also 5030, 5506, and 5005. So they're really, in 5006. So the bonding bills and Christmas tree packages are really in 5 different bills. Some of them are 14 or 15 pages long, and the longest of them is about 128 pages long and very detailed, and not very well organized either. I mean, it's like they threw things in at different periods of time, and they didn't reorder them to fit into sections that made sense. So, for instance, courthouse funding you'll find in 3 different places in 4 different bills. Like our courthouse was funded with general fund. It was very unusual. They left bonding capacity on the table and they funded us with general fund. So I think we should be appreciative of that it's kind of it's an unusual decision for a construction project.
Okay, so as I say, we don't need to take this any longer today. This is the mad dash to the finish. Doug, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon unless anybody has anything else. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Drive safe.